The unstoppable force. Admiral Keeler Zarek stood motionless on the command deck of the Sovereign Might, his six-fingered hands clasped behind his back as he stared at the holographic display of the small blue planet. The luminous markings along his slate-gray skin pulsed with anticipation, a biological tell his species had evolved over millennia that he had never quite learned to control. Behind him, the command crew worked in reverent silence, aware that interrupting their admiral during contemplation was tantamount to career suicide. The Nevidian Empire had conquered 17 star systems over 3 centuries. They had broken the legendary Vorchan unity, tamed the silicon-based horrors of the mithril expanse, and survived the psychic onslaught of the Tezri communion. Each victory had added to their technological supremacy, their tactical brilliance, and their unshakable conviction that the galaxy existed to be claimed by those strong enough to take it. And now this unremarkable planet designated Sol 3 by their scout vessels. "Play the reconnaissance summary again," Zarek commanded, his voice a low rumble that carried across the bridge without effort. First Officer Mira Vex nodded, her own bioluminescent patterns shifting to a dutiful blue. "Yes, Admiral." The hologram changed, showing various images of Earth's cities, military installations, and orbital platforms. A dispassionate voice narrated. Sol 3, locally known as Earth, houses approximately 9.2 billion indigenous bipeds, self-designated as humans. Technological development. Pre-interstellar. Military capacity. Limited to planetary defense and minimal solar system presence. Notable vulnerabilities. Divided governmental systems, resource inefficiencies, and significant interfaction conflicts. Resistance potential. Minimal. Estimated conquest timeline. 14 standard cycles. Zarek's facial ridges furrowed. 14 cycles. That's nearly twice the standard for a pre-interstellar civilization. Strategic Commander Thorl stepped forward, his military caste markings glowing with subdued confidence. "Their weaponry is primitive, Admiral, but intelligence suggests they are unusually adaptable. The projection accounts for their potential learning curve." "Adaptable," Zarek repeated, tasting the word like something curious, but ultimately insignificant. "Show me their most advanced military technology." The hologram shifted to display Earth's fighter jets, naval vessels, satellite weapons, and infantry equipment. To a species that had harnessed dark energy as a weapon and bent gravity to their will, it might as well have been children's toys. "Prepare the first wave," Zarek ordered. "Standard conquest protocol. I want planetary surrender within 3 cycles." As his officers hurried to comply, Zarek permitted himself a small, satisfied smile. Another world for the Empire. Another species to serve the greater good of Nevidian expansion. Another routine conquest. He couldn't have been more wrong. The first assault on Earth's defenses went exactly as predicted. The Nevidian vanguard, 1,000 warships strong against Earth's paltry few hundred orbital platforms, tore through the outer defense lines with contemptuous ease. Humanity's most advanced weapons barely scratched the Nevidian shields, while Nevidian energy lances reduced Earth's military satellites and stations to expanding clouds of superheated debris. Admiral Zarek watched from the Sovereign Might, positioned safely behind the front lines as befit a vessel carrying the fleet commander. Victory messages flooded in from his captains, each competing to report the most impressive kill counts and strategic objectives secured. "Prepare the landing forces," he instructed Commander Thorl. "Standard grid conquest, starting with their military headquarters and governmental centers." That was when the pattern began to change. "Admiral," First Officer Vex called, her bioluminescence flashing urgent purple, "we're detecting anomalous energy signatures from the planet's surface." Zarek frowned. "Specify." "They appear to be launching thousands of small objects, too small to be effective weapons platforms. Debris. Some kind of primitive countermeasure. Unknown, sir. There." Vex's words cut off as one of the forward battle cruisers suddenly went dark on the tactical display. "The Indomitable has gone silent," reported the communications officer, confusion evident in his voice. No distress signal, no damage report. Just silence. Before Zarek could respond, 2 more warships winked out on the display. Then 5 more. Then a dozen. What in the void is happening? Zarek demanded, his luminous patterns now pulsing a dangerous red. The tactical officer's voice shook. "The small objects, sir. They're attaching to our ships somehow. Then they detonate." "That's impossible," Thoril objected. "Our shields are calibrated against energy weapons and kinetic impacts above a certain threshold," Vex completed, understanding dawning on her features. "These devices are too small, too slow. The shields don't register them as threats until it's too late." Zarek stared at the display, watching as more of his Vanguard vessels went dark or began transmitting damage reports. Humans had identified a fundamental flaw in Nevidian defensive technology within hours of first contact, a flaw no enemy in 3 centuries had discovered. "Pull back the Vanguard," he ordered, his voice tight. "Recalibrate all shields. Launch interceptors to destroy these devices before they reach our vessels." It was the right call, made quickly, but the humans had only just begun. As the Nevidian fleet adjusted its tactics, Earth's militaries launched their conventional forces, aircraft, missiles, and hastily armed civilian vessels, in seemingly suicidal charges against the alien invaders. Any competent tactician could see they stood no chance, yet they came anyway, wave after wave, each attack slightly different from the last, each probing for weaknesses, each sacrificing hundreds to learn how to kill just one Nevidian ship. "They're insane," whispered Thoril as they watched another human assault force get vaporized, but not before they managed to bring down a Nevidian destroyer with a tactic that hadn't existed 3 hours earlier. "No," Zarek replied, his luminous patterns now pulsing a thoughtful violet. "They're fighting like a species with nothing to lose." By the end of the first cycle, what should have been a triumphant day of conquest had turned into a grinding battle of attrition. The Nevidians still held orbital superiority, but at a cost of nearly 200 ships, losses unheard of in modern Nevidian military history. Worse, the humans were adapting with terrifying speed, developing countermeasures that should have taken years to conceive. Zarek sat alone in his private quarters, reviewing the battle footage for the dozenth time. The way human aircraft would sacrifice themselves to guide missiles past Nevidian point defenses, the improvised electromagnetic pulse weapons they'd cobbled together from civilian infrastructure, the kamikaze attacks by civilian vessels packed with explosives, pilots willingly dying just to damage a single alien ship. A chime at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called, not taking his eyes from the display. First Officer Vex stepped inside, her luminous patterns muted with exhaustion. "A high command has responded to your report, Admiral." Zarek finally looked up. "And they're displeased. They say our performance is suboptimal, and that a pre-interstellar species should not be capable of offering meaningful resistance to the Grand Fleet." "Do they offer any tactical insights, or merely criticism?" Zarek asked, bitterness seeping into his tone. "They've ordered an immediate escalation. Full planetary bombardment of all military targets, civilian infrastructure, and population centers. They want Earth broken within the next cycle." Zarek stood abruptly. "Genocide. That's their solution." "The official designation is necessary pacification," Vex replied, her own disgust evident in her dulled luminescence. The Admiral turned back to the display, watching footage of a human fighter pilot manually guiding a nuclear warhead into the bridge of a Nevidian cruiser, sacrificing himself to take out the enemy command. Such dedication deserved respect, not extinction. "Prepare a response to High Command," Zarek said quietly. "Inform them that I require additional resources before proceeding with full-scale planetary assault. Cite the unexpected resistance and potential value of human tactical innovation, if properly harnessed through standard subjugation rather than extermination." Vex's patterns brightened slightly. That will delay the genocide order. For a time, Zarek agreed. Meanwhile, have Thorol prepare a new attack strategy. If these humans want to teach us about adaptability, I'm willing to learn. As Vex left to carry out his orders, Zarek returned his attention to the battle footage. Something about these humans nagged at him, a sense that he was missing something fundamental about them. They fought with a desperation and creativity he'd never witnessed before, as though defeat was genuinely unthinkable. In 3 centuries of conquest, the Nevidian Empire had never encountered a species that simply refused to accept the possibility of surrender. Until now, the immovable species. Dawn broke over Earth's scarred surface, revealing the devastating impact of just one cycle of warfare. Craters marked where Nevidian energy lances had struck military bases, burning through reinforced concrete and steel as though they were paper. The skies remained darkened by smoke and debris, and the oceans were littered with the wrecks of both human and alien vessels. Yet from this apocalyptic landscape, humanity continued to fight. Admiral Zarek reviewed the updated tactical displays with growing concern. His diversionary attacks on Earth's southern continents had been met with fierce resistance, expected but manageable. What troubled him was the complete failure of his primary assault on the northern military installations. Somehow, the humans had anticipated his strategy despite its radical departure from standard Nevidian doctrine. "They're learning too quickly," he murmured to Commander Thorol, who stood beside him on the command deck. "It's as though they've fought wars like this before." Thorol's luminous patterns pulsed with frustration. Intelligence suggested their species has never faced extraterrestrial threats. Their fictional entertainment contains invasion scenarios, but nothing that should prepare them for actual space combat. "Fiction," Zarek repeated, something clicking into place. "Show me their military leadership structures." The holographic display shifted, displaying profiles of Earth's top military commanders. What struck Zarek immediately was their diversity, not just in physical appearance, but in background. Unlike the Nevidian military, where officers followed standardized career paths through the imperial academies, Earth's commanders came from wildly different traditions, schools of thought, and even former enemy nations. "That's it," he breathed. "They don't think like a unified force. Each of their command centers approaches problems differently. We adapt to one strategy, and another commander with an entirely different perspective takes over." Thorol's patterns shifted to a concerned yellow. "How do we counter such chaos?" "We don't," Zarek admitted. "We accelerate. Launch the second wave now. All remaining forces. We overwhelm them before they can develop more countermeasures." As Thorol hurried to comply, First Officer Vex approached with a troubled expression. "Admiral, High Command has responded to your request for additional resources." Zarek knew from her tone what the answer would be. Denied. Worse, they're sending Grand Marshal Koros to oversee the completion of this inexplicably prolonged campaign. Zarek's luminous patterns flashed dark red before he could control them. Grand Marshal Koros was notorious throughout the Empire, a brutal, efficient commander who had put down the Vorchan rebellion by obliterating their homeworld entirely. If Koros took command, Earth wouldn't just be conquered, it would be reduced to ash. "How long until he arrives?" 3 cycles, Admiral." Zarek nodded grimly. "Then we have 3 cycles to finish this our way." The second wave struck Earth with overwhelming force. 70,000 Nevidian warships against a planet that had already lost much of its defensive capability. This time, Zarek employed a strategy he'd developed studying human military history: shock and awe on an unprecedented scale. Every major military installation worldwide was targeted simultaneously. Nevidian dropships deployed ground forces into strategic locations. Fighter squadrons established air supremacy over key cities. It was textbook conquest, executed with the precision and power that had made the Nevidian Empire the dominant force in known space. For 6 hours, victory seemed inevitable. Human resistance was fierce but scattered, unable to coordinate effectively against such a massive assault. Zarek allowed himself to hope that the brutal efficiency of this attack might actually succeed where the more measured first wave had failed. Then something impossible happened. "Admiral," the sensor officer's voice was tight with disbelief. "We're detecting energy signatures from the planet's surface and orbital positions. They're consistent with Navidian shield technology." Zarek felt his heart stutter in his chest. "That's impossible. They couldn't have reverse-engineered our shields in a single cycle." But the evidence was undeniable. Somehow, in less than one planetary rotation, humans had not only analyzed Navidian shield technology, but adapted it to their own systems. Weapons that had torn through Earth's defenses just hours earlier now dissipated harmlessly against familiar-looking energy barriers. "How?" Thorell demanded, voicing the question on every officer's mind. The answer came moments later when Earth's counterattack began. From hidden bunkers and hastily constructed launch facilities came a new wave of human weapons, missiles and drones that didn't just mimic Navidian technology, but improved upon it, exploiting weaknesses that the Navidians themselves hadn't recognized. "They're using our own technology against us," Vex whispered, watching as the tactical display began to light up with Navidian ships taking critical damage. "No," Zarek realized, the truth dawning on him with horrifying clarity. "They're using our technology as a starting point and then surpassing it. They're not just adapting. They're evolving our weapons beyond what we conceived." The result was catastrophic. Navidian ships began falling at an alarming rate, their own defensive systems helpless against weapons they had inadvertently inspired. What should have been a crushing final assault instead became a desperate holding action as Zarek tried to extract his forces from the unexpected counteroffensive. "All vessels, commence emergency withdrawal," he finally ordered, his voice heavy with the weight of unprecedented defeat. "Regroup at the second moon of the sixth planet." As the remnants of his once magnificent fleet retreated, Zarek stared at the blue planet on the view screen, trying to comprehend how everything had gone so catastrophically wrong. "Admiral," the communications officer called, breaking the stunned silence on the bridge. "We're receiving a transmission from Earth. They're requesting to speak with you directly." Zarek straightened his posture, luminous patterns shifting to a dignified purple. Even in defeat, he would represent the Empire with honor. "Put it through." The view screen changed to show a human woman, her dark skin lined with age and her hair streaked with gray. She wore a simple military uniform adorned with minimal insignia, yet Zarek immediately sensed he was addressing someone of immense authority. "Admiral Zarek," she said, her voice steady and measured. "I am General Amara Chen, Supreme Commander of Earth's United Defense Forces. I thought it time we spoke directly." "General," Zarek acknowledged, inclining his head slightly. "You fight with remarkable creativity." A ghost of a smile touched Chen's lips. "Necessity is the mother of invention, Admiral. Something your empire seems to have forgotten. You've studied us. From the moment your scout ships entered our system," she confirmed. "We may be pre-interstellar by your standards, but our observation technology is quite advanced. We've had time to prepare." Zarek felt a chill run through him. "The ease with which you adapted our technology suggests more than mere preparation, General." Chen's expression grew solemn. "Humanity has spent millennia fighting itself, Admiral. Species that achieve unity early in their development may advance quickly, but they lose something crucial: the forge of competitive innovation. Every human nation, culture, and individual has had to adapt or die countless times throughout our bloody history. It's in our DNA now." She leaned forward slightly. "When we detected your scout ships, we didn't see salvation or doom. We saw an opportunity to finally unite against a common threat. Every scientific mind on the planet has been working on this problem. Every military strategist, every resource we have." "To what end?" Zarek asked. "Even if you repel this fleet, the Empire will send another, and another after that." "Perhaps," Chen acknowledged. "But consider this. If we can reverse engineer your shield technology in a day, Imagine what we can do with a year of studying your faster-than-light drives, your weapons, your power sources. Her eyes hardened. We don't want your empire, Admiral Zarek, but we will not be conquered, and we will not be exterminated. The implication hung between them, unspoken but clear. Continue this war, and humanity would eventually bring the fight to Nevidian space. I will convey your message to my superiors, Zarek said finally. Chen nodded. Do that. And add this. We're willing to discuss peace, coexistence, even trade, but never subjugation. The transmission ended, leaving Zarek staring at the stars. Behind him, the bridge crew waited in tense silence for his reaction. Set course for the rendezvous point, he ordered quietly, and prepare my report to High Command. As the Sovereign Might accelerated away from Earth, Zarek returned to his quarters and began composing the most difficult message of his career. He would tell the truth that the Nevidian Empire had encountered a species unlike any other, a species that should never have been able to resist, let alone triumph, against the most powerful military force in known space. But they had. And for the first time in his life, Admiral Keeler Zarek found himself hoping that his superiors would choose diplomacy over continued war. Not for the sake of humanity, but for the future of his own people. Because he had seen something in General Chen's eyes that no amount of Nevidian military might could extinguish. The absolute, unshakable conviction that humanity would prevail, no matter the cost. They had outnumbered the humans 100 to 1, brought technology centuries beyond Earth's capabilities, and deployed strategies honed through conquering 17 star systems. And still, they had lost everything.